So, like I was saying, the unions are a very important factor of being employed, especially if you have a rigorous or a job in the field like construction or with hazardous materials, because they deal with OSHA and they deal with all the health protocols that have to go into place. And without them, we would be working without face masks, without any type of protection. You know, even in the medical field, they have their own unions. The nurses have their own unions because they need a lot of protection. You know, for any types of diseases that may come up or whatever. They are the ones that insist on the protection, the personal protections for the nurses. You know, the supplies they need at the hospitals, certain equipment that is necessary to do their job, to perform it, you know, to the quality of care. So the unions are the ones that go after the employer and tell them, hey, you got to do this for your employees. If you don't, there'll be some kind of repercussion. We will insist. We could do walkouts. We could do protests, inform the media what's going on. You know, all this negative stuff that could go against the employer that most employers don't want, because there's, you know, especially nowadays that everything travels at the light of speed. So now the attendance of the unions is because a lot of states are becoming the right to work states. These politicians are confusing the employers or the employees. They're confusing them by giving them negative information or wrong information about unions, saying that the unions are organized crime, that they're going to steal your money. But actually what happens is the unions are the ones that are the go-between, like I said earlier in the video. And also they're the ones that protect your pension. They invest it, you know, they look after it. They look after your benefits. They make sure that you get the best medical benefits, dental, eye care, you know, for you and your family, work environment, other stuff. But the politicians and the corporations are together. They're in bed together. You know, the corporations donate to these politicians' campaigns, and they go after the unions to get rid of them in certain states. Like not too long ago, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, maybe even a little longer, Wisconsin turned into a right to work state, and the corporations and the teachers unions and all that, they promised so much stuff to these employers if they will vote for it, or employees if they vote for the right to work state, and they did. And unions were almost abolished. They were totally terminated in the state, and now the employers are doing whatever they want. They're going back on whatever they promised these employees, which they can do. Legally, they can do. They don't have to, unless it's a signed contract. There's nothing that an employee can do against an employer if they decide to take away your pensions or your benefits or anything like that. It's not up to... These are benefits. They're not rights. They're not obligations by the employer. So these attendance people are not hiring or joining their unions, which is a vital error on their part if they don't do that, because unions protect your right. They're the ones that came up with the 8-hour days, the 2 days off, 5 days on. They're the ones that continue to press on for safer environments, pay. You know, where corporations don't care. They don't even see you. You are a number on a sheet of paper, and when it comes down to cutting down or whatever, they eliminate you without no cause. You know, you're just another number. They don't care about your family. They don't care if you have a sick child that needs a certain type of insurance. They don't care if you have 2 kids in college and you're at almost retirement age. Corporations don't care. This is where the union comes in. This is where the union comes in and takes care of these issues that are vital to the employees. Because corporations they are in the demand for quantity. They put out as much product as they can, so they want the employers to do that. And the employees have to do it or they're terminated. So these corporations are just manipulating the politicians into manipulating their constituents to vote against unions, to keep them out of the states, to get them out of the states. So this is a big error on the part of the employees. You have to protect yourself, and unions are like an insurance. You may not need them, but the day you do, you have it. So, support the unions. We have to keep them. They're the ones that keep everything real. They keep everything legalized, and they legitimate. Where we're working safe hours. We're not driving a truck 20 hours. And the best jobs, if you ever notice, are union jobs, because they demand you're a skilled worker. You're just not some person pressing a button back and forth. There's some kind of skill involved. So that's why unions are disappearing in the United States. So unions, they formed the protection for the workers. They continue down the road, growing with these corporations. They grew in size as the corporation grew and hired more people. They had more members, more money, more power, more influence. So these unions became very influential in the United States. For instance, like UPS. The UPS unions, which derives from the Teamsters, which is one of the most powerful unions in the United States, they dictate most of the things that UPS can do. So, they could go as far as stop packages from being delivered all over the United States if something that UPS does and the unions don't like. So what's happening is these corporations now have gotten smarter, and they started a campaign against unions. They want to eliminate them, just create right to work states where unions have no influence, which I think is asinine, because no matter how powerful you get, you still need a union to represent you at work, because there's no jobs that are safe. Your job is not safe. Like we live in Florida, it's a right to work state. The boss could come today and he could think in his mind that I'm going to fire everybody with a red shirt today, and he could fire people with a red shirt today, and all he has to state is that you were non-complying with the company's rules and regulations. And he could pick one. You were late one day. He could fire you for that, for attendance. So how do you get representation? So, unions are very important for representations. The attendance, now that's the other thing. And the attendance in the U.S. is because in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, unions got in bed with the mafia and organized crime, and the pension boards were being raped and pillaged by these organized crime units or entities. Everybody knows who Jimmy Hoffa is, from the Teamster. He was in bed with the mafia, the Corleones up in New York, and all those big mafias, and people started moving away from them, and then they started getting a negative rap, stating that all they wanted was your dues and they weren't doing anything. And then these right to work states, these unions were being organized, but they have no say. So that also was another negative mark against unions. But unions are the protectors of employment in the U.S. Because right now, Walmart, if Walmart decides to fire everybody tomorrow because they can say that they don't have any money, and they'll file bankruptcy, and they could open in another. Well, good morning. I'm talking about how do unions shape labor conditions, and also why do you think union membership in the U.S. is so low? Well, people are forgetting what unions really stand for, and they're for the employees. They're the mediators between employer and employees. From the beginning, they were the fist of the employees towards the employers, because at one given time, employers had all the powers, and no employee could go against the employer. They would be fired, terminated with no cause, no process, nothing. They would just be eliminated. So these unions, rose into power, and not into power, but they were created to effectively negotiate not only wages, but conditions at work, hours, and different things that would come up in the work environment. They shaped the United States. I mean, we went from almost a 16-hour working day, or even longer, to in 6 days to 7 days working every day, with no chance of any, or no benefits. There was no benefits, no days off, you had no say at what you did, and they told you to do something, and even if it was unhealthy or risky, you would have to do it. So these unions, got together, and they created them. They created these unions to help workers. And as time went by, and the workplaces started growing, corporations started growing, unions grew with the corporations.